Okay, folks, video time again. Fancy that. Here's another one. Jesus Christ, it never stops, does it? Actually, it's been a pretty busy weekend for records, and and a week of records arriving, and more to come, of course. So some new issues got sent to me, and some recent purchases off Trade Me. No, did we? Oh, I think I might have showed those. A couple of Trade Me stuff, and some New Zealand stuff, and a couple other bits. And I went to the record shop yesterday. So my wife's away in Australia for a couple of weeks visiting him with her sister, the lucky cow, and I didn't get to go. I get to stay here and work, look after the dog. It's freezing cold winter here. She's over in Aussie where it's not so freezing cold, although it is still winter. She's away for a couple of weeks, so the upside of that is, of course, I get the lounge to myself and the stereo, and so yes, I've been making the most of it, and we had a long weekend. It is actually Queen's birthday holiday weekend today, and so we get the day off. That's cool. So today I had a big session with Ed come over, and we played some records, and because I hadn't been, he actually probably didn't the first time this year actually, that I can recall. So yeah, that was really good. He was suitably impressed with some stuff. I blew him away with the Ill-Considered Jazz record, and I knew I would. I knew he would absolutely love that, and he did. The man, he is the same age as my dad, but he has really open-minded musically, and that he actually plays a bit of music himself. Well, he plays a guitar. I actually showed him a Back from the Grave compilation that I picked up recently, which I showed in a video, and I played him some stuff off it, and he said, he was actually in a garage band like that when he was in high school. One that didn't record or anything. He's from Canada. So he was really impressed with that. Anyway, on to the latest finds. Now, I was going to show you the record I'm playing, but I actually showed it in my last video. It's an ultra rare, obscure New Zealand band called Alien. Oh God, I can't remember. I'm going to have to get the record. I can't even remember the name of it now. Alien Blade. And this is it here. I showed it to. The last video I made. Where did I get this from? Trade Me? Yeah, probably. Sort of late period art prog sort of stuff. I quite like it. They've had a second album out too as well in 1982. This was on 1978. I quite like it, and it's pretty cool. So that's what you're playing behind. So also off Trade Me, I picked up a couple of records. I was bidding on a couple more, but I missed out on them. But I did pick up this one from the seller that I was bidding on all his stuff. This is a compilation of a New Zealand band called The Pleasers. No, sorry, actually, they're an Australian band. There was a New Zealand band called The Pleasers, but without the Z. It was an S. Probably a bit more poppy. These are a little bit more garagey, raunchy. Some of it's not. They did not record a lot. They were very popular in New Zealand, apparently on the live scene, but not so much in Australia. So they formed in Australia. They came to New Zealand. I believe they were formed by a couple of New Zealanders though. So there's more of a New Zealand connection than just the fact that they came and played here and recorded here. Anyway, they only released 2 or 3 singles. Some pretty cool raunchy stuff, and then a bunch of other stuff that's been compiled together from whatever. On Raven Records back in the 90s, late 90s. Oh no, 80s. So this is a pretty good condition for the age of the record. It's not all great. I mean, there are better ones around than that one. And also from the New Zealand music, the 60s New Zealand music scene, this compilation. So there was 2 compilations on Trade Me I was bidding on. The one, Number 8 Wire, which is also a 60s compilation, unfortunately is a bit more sought after, and it went for a little bit more. I stopped bidding after about $100. This one I actually probably paid too much for as well. So Get Lost 3 it's called. I don't know what happened to Get Lost 1 and Get Lost 2, but unreleased, 15 unreleased Kiwi rhythm and beat gems from 64 to 67. This is on Xerox Records and it was compiled by John Baker, I think his name was. Now John's a very well-known archivist in New Zealand, but some of his releases can be a bit dodgy, and this might be one of them. In that it's kind of listed as an unofficial release, so it's kind of like a bootleg. Also, it's dodgy in that some of the recordings on this are pretty bad, but then again, with the fact that they're unreleased, there are a couple of names on here that I knew of. I mean, the Bluestones released something. Ray Wolf released some stuff in the 60s, the Chance, which is in Chance R&B. So some of the names did have releases, but some of them I never knew of. So it's a pretty mixed bag of stuff, really. Some of the recordings are pretty rough and not that great, but there are some great tracks on here. But, you know, I'm always collecting New Zealand compilations, so that is one of them. Excuse me. Doing a lot of that lately. So, some new releases. Excuse me, sorry. Summer Thieves. Just put my reading glasses on. Sorry about this. I'm getting old and blind. Summer Thieves, Paradise Down the Road. This is their debut LP on Loop Recordings and from 2021. So recorded last year, but I think it's just only just hit the shop. Got this from Flying Out. I had to listen to it on Bandcamp. It's okay. It's a commercial sound. I mean, it's not going to ever be hugely successful. But it is a kind of commercial sound. It's that commercial sound that you know is trying to be commercial, but it's not going to make it. I mean, there's no massive hooky, catchy commercial songs on here, but the sound overall is. This would fit into the category of what's derisively called barbecue reggae in New Zealand. Which is sort of the dubby, reggae, electro bands, funky, soulful bands, you know, like Fat Freddy's Drop and stuff like that. This, you know, Loop, what do they call themselves? No, Lab. I don't know, there's lots of bands. This is a popular genre of music in New Zealand. Hey, listen a couple of times. Yeah, it's not bad. I wouldn't rant and rave about it, to be honest. This one here is released from a couple of 3 years back or more, maybe. Has-Beats. Yeah, Has-Beats. E5 EP. The E5 EP. A 6-track EP of instrumental, mostly instrumental. There is some, not song, not lyrics as in not pieces sung, but there are some vocals that are kind of sampled, I guess, in this. This is kind of a hip-hop thing, you know. This is New Zealand hip-hop. I don't have a lot of New Zealand hip-hop. Not a lot of it on vinyl, actually. Most of it's on CD and stuff. So, yeah, this is interesting. There's some quite cool stuff on this. So, it's been out for a while. I don't know, I just got around to picking up. It was on... they had a sale on Flying Out, so I jumped on there and picked up some things. And a couple more that I picked out at the same time, or one more. One more I picked up at the same time. I thought there was 4 of them that I picked up. 1, 2, 3. I don't know. I might be missing one. This is a new record by a lady called Worry Donna, Being Alone. 6-track EP maybe. It's not a long record. So another... singer-songwriter. I mean, she's got a band with her. This is a bit more poppy and rocky. This is one of those quiet, loud sort of jobs. So the songs start off quiet and then they go quite rocky. They're like kind of Nirvana thing going on. Yeah, not bad. Just had a couple of listens to it. She's playing live here next month to support this record, so I might pop along and see that. And I'm sure that I've got 4 records with that haul from Flying Out. Well, I could be wrong. Let me go and have a quick look in the pile and see that I've missed one. Aha! There is another record, and I may have. I don't think I showed it. This one here, really impressed. Gypsy Soul is the name of the album, and Lee Martin is the name of the lady. And this is a beautiful recording, very good, quite hi-fi, lightweight country tinged, poppy, laid back, mellow. Red Fountain maybe sort of is a possible reference. Good voice, great playing. Another one would be, and I know none of you will probably know of her, Jenny Mitchell. She's another country Americana type lady. She's more Americana than this lady is, but yeah, this has been getting lots of plays. Ed was very impressed. I played him a side of it today, and he was very, very impressed with that. And I don't know whether I showed this in my last videos or not, but this is another fairly new album out. Ernie Bell, ERNYBELLE, Venus is Home. This is another singer-songwriter lady. This is her debut album. This is pretty damn good too. And played it for a few days. I'm trying to think what it was like. I played it a couple of times. It's kind of a bit more folksy, bit poppy, and indie rock, indie pop. Yeah, pretty good. So the girls are kicking it at the moment. Anyway, yesterday I went to Penny Lane, so I had to go into town because I needed to get some business supplies, for office supplies for my business, and pick up some. While I was in there, I picked up a couple of items of food from the supermarket because the wife's away and she would normally do that on her travels. Anyway, I went to Penny Lane. I took in some records that I'd had half a dozen CDs that I'd kind of played over the last kind of 6 months that I pulled out of the collection, and I really didn't connect with them anymore. Really lost interest in them. They were compilations and a couple of other records, mostly compilations. So I took them in, and I took in some records that I had picked up that really didn't interest me musically. They were New Zealand ones that I'd picked up, and then some records that I'd bought that are double ups that I had, and some other records that I bought in auctions in combination with other records that I didn't really want. So, and a couple of those records that I got from overseas that were very slightly faulty, and I got replacements in out, and they were actually playable. So I told the guys about it. They had a look at them. They were quite happy. They didn't give me a lot of money for the stuff. But anyway, so I went through the bins and with the trade and spent a bit of extra money, and I found this. Really pleased to find this original Flying Nun first debut album by Sneaky Feelings, who were one of the original Flying Nun bands on the Dunedin Double EP from the early 80s. This was their 1984 debut LP. Has been reissued on a double LP with a whole bunch of extra tracks. Some of those extra tracks I already have on some of the other EPs that I've picked up. I was a bit tentative about them, but honestly I hadn't picked this up and I'd seen the reissue around, wasn't sure how good this was. They weren't one of the Nun bands that really captured my attention, but in saying that, I really enjoyed this. I mean, it's a great recording, some great songs, some well constructed stuff. Yeah, it exceeded my expectations, to be honest. And then I also picked up, I mean, it wasn't too expensive, it was a little bit dirty, although it's cleaned up and it plays really well. There is some water damage on and sun damage on the cover. But I also picked this up. This is their second LP, Sentimental Education, from a couple of years later, 1986. Also on Flying Nun. This is an original. This one was a little bit more expensive because it's a little bit rarer, and that because it didn't sell so many copies. Musically, I don't like it as much. I think I'll get used to it though. I think it will grow on me. It's still a great recording, and there's still some fantastic playing on here. They're a very, very capable band. So we'll have to see. But anyway, really pleased to grab those two more Flying Nun records. And then I couldn't leave this in the bin. I actually saw it, and oh hell, man, you know, this is a huge record for me from my youth. The Exploited Punk's Not Dead debut LP from, I don't know, 1980 was it? No, 1981 actually. 1981. I thought it was slightly earlier than that. I was thinking maybe this was one of the original earliest of the hardcore punk albums out of the UK, but maybe not if it was 1981. I was thinking this was, more like 1979, 1980. But I brought this, I don't know, maybe in 1982 when I was about 15. And it may have been one of the very first punk records. I brought 2 punk albums off my cousin who had bought them but didn't really enjoy them that much. He was a big Jam fan. He was massively into the Jam, and he was also massively into, at the time, the Moody Blues, who had just released an album that was doing really well back in the 80s after, being a successful 60s band. He sold me his 2 punky albums, which were Stiff Little Fingers and Flammable Material, and the Buzzcocks, Different Music in Another Kitchen. Is that what it's called? Which are 2 absolutely great albums. I may have had this one first, but I just don't remember. But anyway, still sounds bloody good. I mean, I don't know, that's pretty thrashy and that, but I really did like this, and it still sounds good to me. And actually, they played in New Zealand in 2015. I went and saw them. Basically, just Watty with some younger guys, none of the other guys. It was really cool. I enjoyed that. And I must admit, Watty's and it probably would have been in his late 50s. He's probably in his 60s by now. Late 50s, well, about what I am now. Still got the mohawk, massive beer pot, basically stomping around the stage, screaming his head off. He wasn't singing. It was an interesting gig. They're playing again here this year, but I probably won't go because, it was okay, but yeah. And finally, this brand new sealed copy of this was in the, I don't know why it was in the new arrivals bin and not in the new records bin. The Ryan Adams, first of 4 new LPs that he's been putting out since his career was rocked with scandal and allegations of sexual misconduct, etc., etc. He always was an asshole, to be honest. Infant terrible of the Americana music scene. But I actually love his music. I really do. He's never put out a weak album, in my opinion, and this is pretty good. This is a supple, laid-back kind of piece, more, acoustic in places, not one of his more rocky ones. A couple of listens, really impressed. It came with a 7-inch 45, which I haven't played yet, and same with the next LP he put in. This one, according to Discogs, came out in it says 2021 on here, to be honest. Maybe it was released digitally in 2020. This one came out last year, and also the other one after this I think has already come out, and then there are 2 more releases due over the next few months in this year. So yeah, it doesn't disappoint actually. Wednesdays it's called. So yeah, I'm a big Ryan Adams fan of his music, not the guy himself, but anyway, that's why it happens in the music industry. Unfortunately, that is not good. And hopefully he's learned his lesson and got his comeuppance, but he's obviously still putting out records. So yeah, I in no way support his behaviour, but I love his music. Anyway, that's me. As I said, it's a big weekend for records and music, and listening to lots of music this weekend, and buying lots of music and cleaning lots of records. And for sale came up on Trade Me again, the complete Solid Gold Hits volume collection came up for sale on Trade Me. This is an iconic collection of very commercial music, hits and of the 70s and 80s that was released in New Zealand. Basically, we grew up with these records in the 70s and 80s. Each compilation would have 20 hits on them of the day, and they were really, they put out a lot of them in the 70s. So they put out 2 or 3 copies of these, 2 or 3 volumes a year. They got up to volume 35 in about 1983 or 84. They were a big part of my youth growing up. But so I went through the track listing on the Discogs, and there's a bucket load of really good tracks on them. I mean, T-Rexes and Ram Jams and the Doobie Brothers and lots of really cool 70s and early 80s stuff. I mean, Tom Petty. There's also quite a good smattering of really good New Zealand music, classics. A few more duddy ones that were successful that I probably won't like. And then a bunch of other stuff which, some of it I like, great pop songs that aren't, something I wouldn't go out and buy, but I mean, I probably know them really well from radio play anyway. So I picked that whole collection up, 35 volumes of it, for basically $15 a record. I'd seen it come up for sale a couple of times over the years, and I'd hummed and hard about it. This one I don't know if it was the same guy who tried to sell this collection before, but I'd always sort of gone about the price because it added up to like nearly $500. It's like, oh. But you know, 35 records. My wife will absolutely love them. She will really like them because there's lots of good stuff on there for her. So it's something that we can really enjoy together. I mean, she actually has got a volume of it in her collection somewhere, and that. So look. That's me. My record's finished. I'll leave you to it and see you next time when I'll probably get to show you these 35 volumes of classic rock, classic hits. Cheers.